Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters and the StarCraft 2 WCS Winter Championship. It's time for our first semi-final of the day, which means introducing you to our two players. Our first player is already a national champion, an international champion, and arguably the StarCraft 2 son of Poland. Please welcome Nerchio! And his opponent, hailing from Korea, representing for the final time CM Storm, a three-time WCS champion. Please give it up for CM Storm Polt!
Hello Poland, we are ready for the first semi-final of the day. We are ready to bring you the StarCraft 2 action up here on the analysis desk. Before we start talking about the players though, this is Nerchio.
My first match was the hardest against Showtime, and then it was, I would say, quite easy, but I never underestimated my opponent. So first of all, in the tournament, I wanted to get to the stage where there's already people, watching. And my next goal was to get to Spodek, the bigger place, and that's pretty exciting and scary at the same time, I think. Well, I think for all Polish players, IEM Katowice has some special place in our hearts, let's say. There will be so many people, and for me it's always a little bit more pressure. Well, I already played one time in Spodek Arena, and it always stays in my mind. I think it's the most memorable, those are the most memorable moments actually, like when, whole arena is screaming your name.
Nerchio, the last remaining Polish player, returns to StarCraft 2 in a big way, Kev.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Nerchio was very good in Wings of Liberty, the very first part of StarCraft 2, especially towards the end. He won a couple tournaments. Him and Stefano were godlike. Heart of the Swarm in the start, he was good, but in the end, it got a little quiet, and I almost thought it could be the end of Nerchio. But the moment that the beta went live for Legacy, so even before the game was released, he started grinding again, he started playing a lot, and he's really been very good ever since the game came out. I mean, every tournament, he's had a very decent run. I think the only disappointment was DreamHack Leipzig, where he lost in the round of 32 against Lilbao. People were shocked by that, but Home Story Cup, for instance, quarterfinal, very similar scenario, by the way. He went 2-3 against MMA, and for me, MMA, Polt, that's like, those two, they go together. And let's not forget the very first big DreamHack winter. Nerchio also had a very strong performance, finished top 6, but made it to the winner bracket semi-final and only lost 2-3 in a ZvT. So moral of the story is Nerchio has been very good in pretty much every tournament he attended so far.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that Nerchio has been one of the best players that StarCraft has seen outside of Korea for a long time.
Yeah, it's been so cool to follow him because he has been around for so long. He's the guy that you've been seeing playing in all these cups, and he's also been someone that's been very active in outside of the big international scene. He plays in a lot of the online cups. He's someone that, despite the fact that you can basically watch him play anytime, you can't really prepare as well for him because he is a smart guy, he's very calculated, and he doesn't really pass up any opportunities to prepare for an opponent either.
And for me, there's like two sets of data that I really start to try to focus on. You guys are talking about history, and I think there's a lot of value to that, but also I think there's a lot to be made for what's happening right now. There's patches, there's map pools, there's players' condition, and throughout this tournament, Nerchio has seemed so calm, so cool, and he's just mowed through his opponents. Like the people he should have beat, he beat really hard. His tougher match was a little bit closer, but still he looked really good. This is obviously going to be his toughest test, but just from what we've seen from him so far, he doesn't seem unfazed, and that's really promising for his chances.
Well, he's going up against a titan in the StarCraft 2 community, a three-time WCS champion alone. He's up against Polt.
before I come here, like I thought I really want to win this tournament. This is my priority for the entire year. So I prepared a lot. The first match I didn't really play well. My condition was not too good because I just flew from America to here and the jet lag and everything was not good. But now I'm kind of feeling like getting better and better and I'm really confident. I kind of expected like Zerg players will be like other Terran and Protoss players because right now Zerg is performing quite well. And I prepared for that matchup a lot and it's gonna pay off soon. In the last year, I won the WC Season 1 and well, after that, I didn't win any big tournament yet, so this will be really like good chance for me to win another tournament. Not only winning that, but also if I win this tournament, then I get like the 4-time WCS Champions title, and at the same time, I can get the direct ticket to the BlizzCon. Since I can get like both of them, like plus prize money, I really want to win. So far, like I just only had one chance to play on the stage in front of the fans yet, but there will be a huge stage I will be playing on, and there will be like a really extremely good experience for me because I was here in like 2 years ago and I remember that time. Well, even though I just lost at like semifinals that time, this time I prepared a lot and I'm ready. So when I go home, well, I also want to bring the trophy on my hand. That's all I want.
Polt is one of the biggest names in StarCraft 2 history. As much as we talk about Nerchio being one of the biggest names in the European scene and outside of Korea, Polt has been around forever, and there's not really a StarCraft player or fan that doesn't know the name of Polt.
There can't be. It goes back to 2010, and he's timeless in every StarCraft 2 facet, which, by the way, is an accomplishment unto itself. Like, this game is up and down. You get a girlfriend, you're at school, you have a job, something gets in the way of time in the game. The patch, the maps, anything can happen and your results will dip, you'll have a tough time. But Polt, he's been timeless, always so good, always one of the best, if not the best at times, Terran player, and it's just amazing to watch him play.
Yeah, thoughts here, boys. We are almost ready for the game, just in mind for you guys at home. Thoughts on Polt, Nate and Roddy?
He's just an inspirational figure for a lot of people that play this game. He's been one of the guys when people weren't sure about balance throughout the course of the years. He's always been so positive, and he's always been able to compete even when a lot of other players weren't really having that success. And it's just been one of those players that you can follow that will always kind of show you a way to make things work, even if you're not sure what to do yourself.
I mean, it's really awesome to see him here again, but I haven't seen that much of Polt yet in Legacy of the Void. I mean, he attended the Intel Extreme Masters in Taipei, lost in the first round, did go up against Soki, but other than that, we haven't really seen him have a whole lot of success yet in Legacy. He's been streaming a lot, so we've been watching him, we know that he's good, but he hasn't really competed that much yet, and this is a very big series, and I think if there is one thing that could help Nerchio here a little bit, is that, of course, Polt went up against Firecake yesterday, and even though it was a 3-1 victory, in game 3 things started to look a little bit shaky. So Polt was definitely not holding back. You know, he was playing at full force, and Nerchio could have potentially been taking a lot of notes.
All right, quick question here then before we get ready for game number 1. Thoughts on how these two players shape up against each other? Is this a Nerchio favored game? Is it a Polt favored game? Are we expecting long drawn out games? Is it going to be an aggressive one? Give us your quick thoughts here.
Well, I mean, you always talk about nerves, and of course you'd give the edge to Polt, but Nerchio, even yesterday playing in front of that auditorium, which was roaring for him, he didn't seem phased, and he played against an opponent that can be very scary in the mind game. So I don't know. I think Nerchio is channeling these Polish people, and it's helping him. And we saw that with Mana, and we're seeing it now. I think he'll be all right, but I want to give the edge to Polt, though, still. He's been here so many times.
And the biggest thing that comes up for Nerchio is going to be what he prepared to do. Polt has changed his builds for this tournament. He's been playing a lot of aggressive 2-base styles. He's been trying not to be vulnerable. If Nerchio has keyed into that, I'm expecting to see some very aggressive timings to take advantage of that.
I think there is one thing that will truly matter and dictate how this series is going to play out. Can Nerchio keep up with the multitasking of Polt? We all know that Polt loves to fly around with multiple medevacs, and that's when he picks his opponents apart. I think Nerchio is good enough, not just to control his main army, because a lot of people are good in having one big army, but when you play against Polt, you have to be very good in splitting up forces and dealing with that harassment, and that is going to be the best task for Nerchio, the big task that is. Can he do it or not? And I really think he can, so I'm giving a small edge to Nerchio.
All right, Thank you very much, gentlemen. Poland, I hope you are ready to start the semifinals of the StarCraft action. We are going to head over to the commentary team to bring you the game.
Dzień dobry, Katowice, once again, and hello to all of you StarCraft fans watching from home. This is the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship, and we, at this location, the Spodek Arena, are about to crown our first WCS Winter Champion.
Man, it's really great in here. The crowd's absolutely awesome, but the matchup that we have planned here, I couldn't wish for a better semi-final. When you looked at those brackets, Polt, obviously a big, big name throughout the whole of StarCraft 2, but Nerchio, he's the foreigner that we're kind of all counting on right now, and the fact that it's in Poland as well, on his home turf, in front of this crowd, and he's not looking phased whatsoever. I'm so excited for this match.
Absolutely. TVZ, I mentioned it a couple times if you guys have been watching the whole this whole event, that I love TVZ. It is my favorite matchup, and both of these semifinals are so hard to call. I mean, yes, Polt has been doing great against Zergs in this tournament so far, but he is up against the strongest Zerg so far for his run. That cannot be understated as we get into this game.
Polt's been around for so long, and he is pretty much captain standard. He plays Terran like you imagine Terran should be played. Bio, drops, multitasking, and he does it perfectly. Nerchio, on the other hand, he has come up and he's looked extremely solid, and what does he do? I think he's the kind of guy that can actually keep up with Polt, not just keep up with him. I think he can overtake him and out-multitask him, so it's going to be really tough for Polt here.
And both players are playing for this glorious Intel Extreme Masters World Championship trophy on the stage, and of course a spot in the WCS Global Playoffs at the end of the year.
Nerchio's looking ridiculously calm and focused there, actually, despite being in front of this crowd, and he is a very calm guy. He talks about the pressure that the crowd can put on him, and when he's not the underdog, when he's the favorite, it feels a little bit worse, the pressure's more, but here, going up against Polt, in his head, he must consider that a pretty even matchup, so I feel the weight's kind of off his shoulders, and if he just lets the game run, if he just lets the practice work it, I think he should enjoy this moment and really, really give it to Polt.
That's right. No, neither player is a stranger to playing on the big stage, and Nerchio has been here before. He's got the home crowd behind him. Will that, along with his play, be enough to take out this titan of the Terran race?
Oh, man, I'm so excited. This is
You feeling it? It's starting to happen? You feeling it?
I'm so feeling it.
And are you feeling it out there, guys? Let's start this game in the top right. This, the Polish player, is Nerchio. And in the bottom left, the Terran player, this is Polt. The crowd chanting Nerchio's name.
The crowd is so real. I have not felt hype like this in a long time. But getting into the game, spawning cross-map. Now, cross-map is a position in which Zerg spawn so far away from the opponent, meaning they have more time to macro up, they have more time to get the economy flowing. But Nerchio here, he did opt for a pull first, meaning he's playing safe. Means he can get Lings out faster, a Queen out faster. So if Polt was to do any aggression, he'd be able to shut it down very safely. And the fact that he is playing with such a safe build, not greedy, that shows confidence in the Polish player.
That's right. Both players taking each other very seriously. You can see already with respect for each other's, for the other opponent in this game. We got a very, very standard Reaper opening here from Polt as he goes for an expansion. And smart to close off that wall. So we'll be switching off the reactor pretty quickly as well, and we can see that really nothing of note to say from either player's build at this point. It is quite standard.
Very, very standard. The Reaper is going to be on the map now. Also, an SCV scout for Polt, which he did in games prior against Zerg, so exceedingly safe. And even the Reaper, look at his Reaper, it's actually defending his natural, so he's going to get to scout his opponent. That's a late natural. So now he's going to know there's Lings if he made them out on the field somewhere. So his Reaper, perfect play by Polt.
Yeah, that's right. He keeps it at home because he knows that they're here, and he is going to deflect them very, very easily. The Reaper is way too quick to be dealt with, and he's going to now head across the map for a scout here. That critical information that you need in the early to mid game for the Terran. And we see that Nerchio is getting speed for his Lings, droning up quite nicely. Queen's about to pop. It's all looking quite crisp back here.
insanely fast speed by Nerchio here, droning up the Queen off creep here. So the Reaper, it is met by the Queen. That's quite a random position for the Queen. So Polt has to back off, has to regenerate. And Nerchio, the fact that he only had one guy mining gas, he's opting for the macro game. And on cross positions, why not? It's going to take a long time for the Terran to get to you.
And Nerchio has shown strong macro play before. He is such a solid Zerg. Polt also is the solid Terran. Such incredible macro, can handle the cheeses as well as we saw versus Firecake. But yeah, he sees that third hatchery with the Reaper. No surprises there, and he is going up into Starport.
I tell you what though, this build by Polt, the fact that he's continually producing Marines here, no Hellions, creep spread get massively out of control. And I'm very, very excited to see what he does with his tanks, but there is a Roach Warren dropping down.
Yeah, Roach Warren coming down here, a very standard way for Zergs to deal with this matchup. Roach Ravager, a lot of players prefer it over Lingbane Muta. You really have a choice. Multiple viable things to go with. So just a bit of a pause here from Polt.
Don't want to be giving too much away here, but the strategy that Polt's going for, as far as these collide, if he does go for Roaches, tank drop is pretty much the best thing you can do against that.
Yeah, it is quite nice. And like you said, you can deny creep tumors as well. Of course, spreading the creep with the Queens. You can get the, jumping into a medevac. We saw a lot of it yesterday where the medevac's flying around with the tank, dropping down, scanning, well, not even scanning, just catching the Queen out in the middle of the map, dropping those tumors and picking them off one by one. Because it is all about denying that creep. The Zerg units are obviously faster on it and also extra vision. That map control the creep gives you.
And the difference between Heart of the Swarm and Legacy of the Void, creep spreads faster, but it also recedes faster. So if you can get rid of that stuff, you should. But as far as what is tank drop weak against, well, it's a medevac that can't shoot up, and neither can the load inside. So Mutalisks are a direct counter. So if you can get them fast, not use any gas on any units, such as Roaches, you can definitely shut that down.
Well, well-positioned Queens as well with Roaches have always been very, very well used in combination to deny tanker back play or any drop play in general. And we definitely have seen it get shut down multiple times this weekend, but Polt has incredible drops. His multitasking also incredible. So it's a dangerous, dangerous time when you get into mid-game and Polt's medevacs start to fly around.
And I hear the crowd making nice little chants here, even between the pauses in the matchup.
That's right. They've got to keep that energy up high, guys, out there in Spodek Arena. And all of you guys watching from home, I hope you're having a great time as well. We've got 2 semifinals and then the grand final at the end of the day. Ooh, I got the shivers, man. I'm feeling it up my spine.
What's so beautiful about this game so far, and I'm just so tense about getting back into it.
You got your fists clenched, Muslim.
I'm clenching my fist like Nerchio's clenching his fist, man. He's my teammate. I'm really hyped for this. It's like my teammate against one of the gods of Terran.
And he is, without a doubt, one of the gods of Terran. He's been around forever.
And there you hear it, Nerchio chants.
There it is. Spodek certainly looking after their home player. But there are actually a lot of fans of Polt here as well. We saw some nice cheerfuls out there in the crowd when we had it in the theater on Friday. And Polt still as focused and steely as ever.
Yeah, you can't let your focus drop at this stage in the tournament. He's in the semi-finals. It's $10,000 guaranteed, but it's not about money at this point in time, even though the money grows far greater as you advance through the tournament. It's about pride, it's about WCS points, it's about true honor.
At this point, they've already got 8,000. They are gunning for that beautiful trophy on stage to be the Intel Extreme Masters champion, and also, of course, cannot stress enough the World Playoffs, the WCS at the end of the year.
I think I'm seeing some cheeky smiles on Nerchio's face. Here he is in the semi-final, you know?
I'm not sure how he's smiling in there to Muslim, because I would be very nervous.
If I was as skilled as Nerchio, I'd always smile, Maynard.
Of course, Nerchio for the win.
He is, like, you know, he's been around for so long. He actually started off a random player, but then he started focusing solely on Zerg. And during the reign of Stefano, Nerchio was right there every step of the way. The rivalry of both those players, it was amazing. And Nerchio was probably the only player that could take on Stefano. They just never really got to meet in a tournament. But that being said, Nerchio's been in some insane finals. People tend to forget. He was against MVP in the final of Cologne, and he was one of the first foreign Zergs as well to 4-0 Korean Protosses such as like Yonghwa beating MC at Home Story Cup. So he's been around for a very long time.
That's right. Got a lot of hype for taking Korean scalps. Actually, on the other side of the semifinals with Snoot, he is another man that's been having a career of taking down some big Koreans.
As far as foreign Zerg representation here goes,
it doesn't get better.
These are two of the best. These are the guys that you wish for to represent.
That's right. We got foreigners versus Koreans in both semifinals today. The dream scenario.
If they can do it.
If they can do it. Either way, it's going to be sick. They are going to be good games for sure.
I'm really happy to see Nerchio looking so calm in this pause. He does look very focused, taking in deep breaths.
He's not looking like I would. I'd be like full mop sweat, absolute like knees weak, palms sweaty, trying to wipe my hands and my pants. And that's
my forehead, I'd like wear a sweatband ready. I look like a little tennis player going in there, you know.
John McEnroe.
Yeah, without the profanity.
Of course, you're a very nice man. You would never do that. So it looks like we're going to get into the game very shortly. You can see a lot of the Net Wars guys out there in the crowd. Plenty of love to you guys. So much hype from the Polish crowd and the Net Wars people every time we come to Poland.
That's a cute little Zergling with the Nerchio sign.
It is the Carbot Zergling. The most adorable thing to come to the cartoon world for StarCraft.
I am so hyped. This is turning into a macro game already. Starting off a series between these two very solid players. We've got a macro game on our hands, and I cannot wait to see how they do it. Because I talked to Nerchio, he's one of my teammates, and I asked him, which Terrans do you lose to on ladder? He's like, not really anyone, man. And I'm like, oh, well, what do you lose to? And he's like, nothing. And I'm like, Nerchio, I need to see how you play. I need to watch you in this matchup. And if you look in this tournament, his first match was against Showtime, which he said was the opponent over the whole tournament that he feared most, and he defeated him 3-2.
I remember that, yeah.
Since then, though, he has not dropped a map. And he's absolutely obliterated his foes. And the fact that he's got a Terran in the semi-final, that it's like, yeah, that's a matchup that I'm actually insanely good at. It's looking good for Nerchio.
It does. There is some very well-placed hype here for the Polish player. But let's not forget, on the other side, to play devil's advocate here, Polt has destroyed all of his Zerg opponents in this in this tournament so far.
And devil's advocate, you can definitely play with Polt. He is the favorite. Within regards to all the polls and such, Polt's been very highly placed, and rightly so. He's never looked bad. Even when you count Polt out, he's always the guy that manages to come through. But this is the time where practice, it's going to pay off. Hopefully, if you let all the hard work, all the practice has been done, this is where you just truly want to perform and show off everything that you've trained hard for.
That's right, and everyone, get cozy with your loved ones. Game will begin again soon. I promise you, that's a Maynard promise. More Nerchio banners out there in the crowd. The love does not stop.
And he is a lovable guy, man. His sarcasm just shines through.
He does have a very deadpan sort of humor about him, doesn't he? Young Nerchio.
I don't think he's yet shown it on camera, but if you get to talk to him in private, yeah, you'll feel it. One of the first things that comes out of his mouth will be some smart little comment, and it's like, oh.
And it'll be that tiny little smirk in the corner of his mouth.
Yeah, we call him Arthur in the, well, that is his name, but we call him Arthur in the private scene.
Yeah, that's right. I saw Apollo talking to him a little bit backstage. I got a little bit of taste of that Nerchio personality. Polt, very generous and happy guy. He's usually always smiling, very soft-spoken, but he's definitely not so soft-spoken when it comes to playing StarCraft. He's a monster, an absolute titanic beast in game.
You see when he enters that booth, his face changes. From being that smile, it's no longer there. He's staring into his screen, and we are ready. Back into the game here.
Back in the game, guys. Let's get that hype back up for game number 1 between Polt and Nerchio. See that the first scouting overlord of Nerchio sees that natural there. Polt takes it apart, and he's coming down here with some scouting Zerglings.
The big aim for Nerchio now is to find out what he's going to get attacked with, because there's no way that a Terran will say to a Zerg, hey, I'm going to play you in the macro game here. I need to find out what you're going to do to try and slow me down. So this is exactly what Polt's going to do. And look how Nerchio's got the Ling spread across the map. Ling in the middle, so he's going to see this medevac almost instantly, but what's inside? He doesn't know.
Well, at least he knows it's not a tank. He does know that there's probably bio units. He does it. Only two Marines get evacuated from that medevac, so it could be mines, could be Hellions. He's not too sure yet.
A decently timed lair. Polt slightly supply blocked at this time, but this Overlord is going to be the first victim of this medevac. Is ready with, gonna get away. That is nice, because now he has to try and drop into the space, but Nerchio's got it covered with units.
He's in position, that's right. He's got 4 Zerglings, a Queen, 1 Roach, so he's going to take the more open path here, which is the main. He certainly can drop out all of his units here before he goes for his attack. Stim not on the board yet. It is still on the way. So he's going to try and engage without Stim Marines. It is quite tough against this number of Roaches.
This is where things get tough when you're playing against a player of Polt's caliber. He is very quick, and he's going to make smart moves to try and pull you out of position. But Nerchio actually handled that quite well. And looking at this supply, Polt does keep getting slightly supply blocked here. So maybe Ner's playing a little part, but this Viking's really nice for cleaning up Overlords. He'll go around the whole map taking out Overlords here, which just supplements his later on drop play.
We see that Nerchio is dropping that Spire. We'll see which tech he goes for here. He does have quite a lot of Roaches on the ground. Polt has dropped, still no Stim. No upgrades for the Marines yet. Targeting down the Queen. The Lings of Nerchio do batter back though, and the Queen touching up the medevac that whole time. He really cannot dive too deeply here.
One of the things that really separates Nerchio from other Zergs, not only does he have all key solid fundamentals such as macro and just good creep spread. Look at his creep spread even. That is getting pretty darn sick right now. But he micros. He can micro really, really good too. And in those late game situations where a Zerg truly thrives, man, does Nerchio really come alive.
Absolutely. Polt getting up into his mid-game. Upgrades on the way. Extra CC. We see the upgrades for the Roaches coming down with Bleal, Reconstitution, Spire about to finish, catching the Marines in the middle map here, but with medevac support, too much here from Polt.
Oh, a little overeager there with those Zerglings. Those Marines do win the fight. This Viking's still searching for Overlords. There are quite a few on the right side of the map.
He does see the Tankovacs heading across the map here, and Nerchio now aware that Polt is going for a push.
But Nerchio already getting mutas, and he's got Roaches, Roach speed coming. He's also got quite a few Lings on the map, and this creep spread being cleared up so early, that is nice by Polt. And he's here searching for the 4th. There isn't a 4th going down. This is the very obvious location. But these tanks, they are dropped in a very aggressive location.
Very stimmed Marines here, so they need to heal up a little bit before they engage too deeply. It's in range of the Roach Warren here and the Evo Chamber. This potentially could be very detrimental to Nerchio. He's lost the Roach Warren and the Evo Chamber is under siege.
Oh, if that upgrade gets stopped, that is actually very, very annoying. And yes, it does get stopped. Nerchio slightly supply blocked here. The Mutas actually, he's not worrying too much about this army. Does he know he's going to be able to deal with this with what he has?
He definitely feels like he does. The Mutas are very, very excellent at dealing with tanks and medevacs, but he feels like he should do some econ damage to Polt. And he backboxes the Marines in here. The Mutas coming back to join the fight. They take out the siege techs, and Polt is deflected.
Nerchio totally cleans up that fight, but Polt, he's sticking around. He can't get away from these Mutas right now, so he does drop the Marines. He's taking out a few Lings, a few Roaches on the ground here. In fact, Nerchio just left him into his 3rd. Oh no, he's going to lose quite a few drones here.
A bit of a mistake here from Nerchio, losing 3 drones, 5 drones to the Marines of Polt. And he does deflect them now, but he took some damage, possibly needlessly there.
That was a little sloppy by Nerchio, letting those Marines get away, and they can still deal damage no matter what number they're in. Is he even going to get a muta yet? No.
Actually, the muta control of Nerchio is a positive thing, has been very, very good. He's been pulling away the hurt mutas, hasn't lost any just yet. So the resources lost is very, very even at this point.
So weigh up the pros and cons of that attack. For Polt, he denied the upgrade, and look, Nerchio wants to get that +1 ranged attack again, so big focus on Roach Ravager play here, but he is taken up to a Hive. Now, what's he going to do with that? He's already got asserted air control here. He's also going to be able to take out this Viking pretty soon, too, with these mutas. So that is nice, given that against Polt, one of the really important things is, hey, this guy's good at dropping. We need to see when those drops come and where they come from.
Exactly, Viking dealt with here, so his Overlords are going to rule the sky for a while here. He's got all the paths covered. Middle of the map being taken by Polt here. It is pushing again through the middle of the map, and the creep of Nerchio has really been receded here since Polt's attack.
Oh, one very scary thing for Polt is the fact that Nerchio's getting very, very, very early infestors in this matchup. Oh, nice turret placed here. Polt's kind of taking advantage of the map with vision.
Oh, Marines nearly catching some mutas there. No mutas lost still. Scans again, taking away more creep. Polt with his upgrades on the way. We see Hive just about to finish here for Nerchio. And yeah, you're right. Infestors, an incredible comeback tool. You can lock down the buy if you get a great fungal. It's potentially game-ending. We see they are generating their energy back there with the Roaches and the Ravagers.
Now, Polt's navigating the map really, really well. He is going to meet Nerchio in the middle here. And there are infestors ready.
That's right. Oh, a nice miss there from Polt. He does get his medevacs fungled, though. Plenty of Marines left over, but Nerchio with too much. He deflects the Korean Terran from the middle of the map.
Overwhelming him. That was a great, great set of bios taking out the medevacs. When medevacs are taken out, you have to you can't produce Liberators in that time when you're trying to resupplement the medevacs. But here, quite a bit of damage being done to this third.
That's right, breaking off some of his army here to go for a drop. He got 3 drones, but it looks like a fumble here. Corrosive Bile going to take out that medevac. The Marines are gone as well. And Nerchio holds strong.
Despite taking out the medevac in that drop, he did lose 2 Ravagers. That was really good focus fire by Polt. And look at the upgrades kicking in. +2 is about to finish, and Polt has a very, very scary tank count here.
He does, and it looks like Nerchio is now aware that Polt's army is just to the left of his creep spread here towards his 4th hatchery.
A little bit sloppy there for Nerchio. Did lose a meter, a couple of Roaches. Even more Roaches suffering the death to Polt's Marines here. He has to buy time. Chitinous plating, not yet done, but Ultralisks are on the way.
That's right, 3 Ultralisks on the way, but they are quite squishy until they get those upgrades. It's a weird thing to say, but yes, Ultralisks quite squishy until they get Chitinous plating. Liberators now on the way for Polt. An incredible tool for the mid to late game for Terran.
Buy time, Nerchio, buy time. But this is what Polt's really good at. 2 drops, that is 16 Marines with better upgrades. But an Overlord does see the medevacs.
It does indeed.
This could be a nice little win for Nerchio here. But Polt, he's not going to stop on his aggression right now.
Nerchio will have to deal with an attack of Polt from 2 fronts here. Polt looking very strong with a very strong army here at the bottom. The Ultralisks are out now. Will they be enough to be able to soak those Marine hits? And can he bat him back? The drop is now in the 3rd. The Meng's in position. Medevac very, very hurt here. Nothing in the main yet, just yet for Nerchio.
Nerchio was in very good position there to deflect that drop at his 3rd, but he needs to buy time. Chitinous plating not yet done. +2 armor not yet done. But the Chitinous is what really matters in here. He's going to clean up this drop in no time. But he has to save this 4th.
He has so much here. The 4th is very hurt, but there's a lot of Zerg units here from Nerchio, and he presses in. The Corrosive Bile's hitting on the siege tanks. The Marines are very hurt, and Nerchio deflects Polt.
Nerchio, amidst all this madness, he's been taking a 5th. This drop again, another drop, trying to deal damage, but only focusing on the spores right now. The Queen's full.
This is actually going to get a few drones here. He has to evacuate his 3rd. Nerchio is not in a position to deal with this.
The 3rd, it's going to die, but he is taking his 5th behind this, so lose 1 base, but gain another. A single Ultralisk does deflect the rest of this drop, but Nerchio, he's right outside Polt's base here.
He's pressing the issue here. He's going to try and affect this base here. Polt forced to live, and Nerchio engaging with a lot of unsieged tanks and bio here, and there's Liberators as well on the ramp. Nerchio being pushed back. Polt with a lot of units.
That was a lot of SCVs that went down, 17 SCVs, but Polt relentless with his aggression. This medevac got away with very, very little health. Will Nerchio be able to save it in time? It looks like he will. Drop deflected, another base saved.
So close. If there was a Queen there, it just would have had to one time and that medevac would have been gone.
Thors and Liberators are the answer for Polt against Ultras, but will they be able to do it? Nerchio's economy, he's getting back into this. Despite losing his 3rd, he's stabilizing. In Legacy of Void, bases lose minerals faster than they should anyhow, so this isn't HOTS. This isn't as bad. In the fact, is he going to fight this though?
He is going straight into the liberation zones. There is a lot of freedom here. Will it be enough? We have the Ultras pressing
so much Nerchio!
Oh, there is a lot of Zerg here on the dance floor. Goodbye siege tanks. 1 Thor goes down, and he is right in the natural of Polt.
But so many units are still standing in these other...
Oh!
Whoa! So
Polt with a big run by. He's definitely going to get the hatchery there. Polt is actually in a really good spot.
Oh, is Polt going to be able to defend? He can't really kill those Liberators with these Ultras. Yes, he's clearing out the base. He's dealing a lot of damage to these mining bases, but Polt, he's doing just as much damage on the other side of the map. And how is he going to clear up this Terran army?
It's just looking like Nerchio may not have enough here to Muslim. Polt has picked a beautiful fight here. 1 Ultras killing SCVs. Yes, both players losing a lot of workers, absolutely. But Polt is on top of the production, engaging in Ultras with some very hurt bio, but it looks like it just still may be too much.
These are 2 heavyweight boxers going at it, both smashing each other. Defense, forget about it. Full-on relentless attack, and Polt does start running away here, but equal amounts of workers lost almost at this point. 37 workers.
Oh, and look at that army supply difference between Nerchio and Polt, and Nerchio has no income from minerals right now.
No bases mining, Ultras falling left, right, and center, and Polt's army definitely huge here. But the mining, 0 minerals at that moment in time from both these players.
He's long distance so far here with these drones. He is very mined out. You touched on it with Legacy Void. The base is mined out so much quicker, and he is struggling as a result, losing those hatcheries. Polt is taking out these Zerglings easy peasy, and Nerchio first to tap out. GG. Polt gets game number 1.
great first game between these two players. They were really, really going at it. They dropped their guard entirely and just started smashing each other in the face. But great counter-attack by Polt there to take out multiple bases. One single drop on the right, 3 medevacs worth to the north, taking out the 4th base. It was just very, very good play, and this is what we expected from both these guys. They're going to have to keep, not only is Polt going to have to really step it up here, but Nerchio is going to have to read him and deflect these drops quite a bit better.
Both players each had a lead at several points in that game. It was so close up until that late game there. Once the Ultralisk hit the field, Polt just really brought the nails to Nerchio before Chitinous finished. He could actually engage the Ultras very well with the siege tanks and with the bio, and losing those Ultras, it's such a huge resource sink. If they're not fully upgraded, they are very, very, I mean, when they're fully upgraded, they're very, very tough for the Terran to deal with, but until then, they are there for soaking up as many shots as possible, but their armor is really not that impressive.
If Nerchio can take anything away from that game about Polt's play, it's the fact that he plays very, very defensive early on. It's not a greedy third TC. He actually makes tanks for defensive purposes, not for dropping purposes early on. So Nerchio knows he can be even greedier in the future games. That game he opened up with a pull first because he was going to play safe. The 2 Lings, they got totally deflected at the start, which is, it sounds like it's not much, but it's actually quite significant. As you play players, no matter how much you study them, when you play them, you can really start to read them, start to know them. And Nerchio, he's one of the smartest in the scene. So going forward, I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing a much, much greedier Nerchio against this very, very safe player, Polt.
Yeah, he's going to shake off that game number 1 and get back into it with focus. We see no focus lost here from Polt. He's had that steely exterior. You touched on it before. When he's in game, when he's in that booth, he is an absolute cold-blooded killer. Nerchio. He's got a strong Terran, a large mountain to climb here to make it to the final here in Spodek Arena. Game number 2, not far away now.
That was a beautiful, beautiful game by both of them, actually. Nerchio deflected the drops very early on. Just normal Terrans don't do that, but Polt is not a normal Terran. He is truly a god of bio.
We'll see which map we get up into next. We'll have a lot to talk about once we get into it. Nerchio, still in the booth, still looking calm and collected after that game 1.
We also have to talk about things that went unfortunate for Nerchio in that game, such as losing the Roach War in the Evo Chamber. But anyhow, we are getting into the second game of this series.
That's right, and in the top left, currently down 1 map in the series, but he's not done yet. This is Nerchio. And in the top right, with a great game 1, this is Polt.
Polish crowd cheers for both sides. Lovely to see.
There are a lot of Polt fans here. I said it, man. I was serious. There was cheerfuls out there in the theater, and he is the Terran hope. A lot of Terran fans here.
Now, we actually did get to see Polt in this matchup a series before, and we saw what he did. He pulled out a little bit of a Marine Lord here with a 3-Rax Reaper. It's something that he could definitely do again, but it didn't work out truly well against Firecake, the teammate of Nerchio. So we'll see what he can do, but Central Protocol, a very, very odd map.
It is indeed. Talk to us about TVZ on Central Protocol. This is a strange one. What are the big features here?
This is a map that changed a lot. So you used to have rocks in the back of your base, which immediately, as any Terran player, he'd say, oh Lord, that's awful for us. But that changed. The map got much, much more evened out. One thing that is very significant and unique to this map is the ramp between the main and the natural. Mexican waves going off in the crowd.
It's a Polish wave to Muslim.
Right. And the ramp between the main and the natural, though, it's not high ground, it's not low ground. So you see a lot of Roach Ravager all-ins on this map. Given that you don't need vision on the high ground, you can just launch those biles. But here, very standard openings by both players. Nerchio, again, opting for the pool first, which shows confidence. I like this.
Indeed. So, you mean, the reason why it shows confidence is he's taking a bit of economic hit, but he feels like he can still come up into that mid-game against the macro beast that is Polt.
Certainly. Polt figured out where his opponent is. Did he even SCV scout on this map?
I think he saw the Overlord there, possibly.
The Overlord, and that gave it all away. Now he runs directly to Nerchio's base, going to be met by a Queen very early on, which will deflect this. He does see the gas mining, which signifies an early speed. Very, very standard to see all these things for Polt.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, this is what we talked about in the first game that he wanted to happen.
That's right. The 2 Lings get across the field here. He sees that the pool's a little bit late, and he actually delays that CC.
This is really clever, by the way. He's making sure that this SV cannot build, but he's also making sure that another SV doesn't come and take the job. So how much has this CC been delayed, actually? This is a good 15,
This is a
20
very
seconds.
significant delay here to the command center, and the Reaper has to come all the way back to deal with the Lings, and it does very easily here. But that is a significant delay.
Compared to the first game where it got shut down entirely, yes. And morale-wise, when a plan goes according to plan, holy cow, that's what you definitely want. And this for Nerchio, he's going to be feeling way more confident in this game. And slams down a third base.
Yeah, he's definitely feeling very, very safe here to drop that third. And Polt getting up for his pretty standard looking factory into starport here.
Polt's always been a guy that kind of sticks with the same builds. They may not be the best, but they keep him safe so he can survive to that late game where he really thrives. And here, again, the tanks coming out. And is he going to use them aggressively? He didn't the previous game. Very surprised by this forward roach positioning.
Yeah, it got taken out in the first game because it was so close to the ramp. It's vulnerable to tanks. We see that low ground there just next to the ramp there. It's a susceptible tech structure.
And if there's a dream position, it will be between the third and the natural, taking out that Roach Warren and the third base. If you can get there with this creep spread being as decent as it is already, then congrats to you.
Oh, nearly body blocking that Reaper there. Some jukes from Polt. That Reaper is made out of butter, but it will pay the price.
Certainly will. So Nerchio deflects the Reaper. May not seem like a big deal, but that Reaper, you keep it alive so you can continuously scout your opponent. Is he going to all-in me? Is he going Muta? Is he going Roach? Is he going Lingbane? Polt no longer has any idea. Polt is just going to play his game. Though, no third CC from Polt.
That's right.
He's
dropping more barracks, extra production, so he's going to be able to make a lot of units very, very shortly here. Many, many Marines. Siege tank already loaded up in the medevac, heading across the field for any kind of damage you can get done. Generally, it's for clearing up creep tumors.
Right, and what does this 3-rack signify? Well, on close positions like this, and it is a very short walk distance, Polt's going to play insanely aggressive. Nerchio has to figure this out pretty soon, because if he feels that he can just keep on macroing, no, there's going to be an attack at his door in just a couple of minutes.
Does get one tumor there. The Queen's coming in to bat him away. Don't you touch my babies. Getting deflected.
A small amount of roaches on the field. They are just to deflect any sort of aggression here. Factory has not been used for anything but building a reactor for the barracks, so there's going to be a really, really massive Marine count out. Look how hard Nerchio is droning, by the way. I love the fact that he didn't overcommit to battle units early on. He's just droning, and it is the right call right now.
Absolutely, getting a drone lead here, more economy for those units. Zerg does tend to start powering out those battle units, as you call them, into the mid-game. Got the Roaches here. I mean, the tank can be lifted off very easily and messed with the Roaches. Just the one Queen here, not enough, but with Roach support, can definitely get the job done.
Just wants to harm that medevac, but he doesn't want to run off creep here. Oh, this tank dealing a lot of damage to those Roaches, which any damage that can be done, it's good damage. By the way, 3rd CC and 2 engineering base start.
All right, well, Polt's not afraid of that late game then. Double upgrades is something that he needs to power on for. This takes a little while to finish, but with 3rd CC, he's definitely not afraid of taking Nerchio a little bit longer a game.
This is what I find so weird about Polt's play. The 3rd CC being before those barracks would have been optimal for his economy, given that he does plan on going for a later game with the double engineering base. But because of that Reaper dying so early, and this is what's so important about denying scout, denying vision. He just played a Euronics player that was very, very all-in-y, attacked him constantly. And the fact that he could not scout at that point in time, it made he had to play even safer.
He's cleared out the Overlords, and this drop is actually going to be very strong with tank support here. That's 16 Marines in those medevacs coming down right now in that fog of war.
Luckily, creep spread everywhere else is pretty good. He's got a few units ready and waiting, and he does seem to smell something, so he knows his point of weakness, and he is rather ready for this attack. But there's a lot of Polt here.
Indeed, they don't have any, I guess, attack and armor upgrades yet, and there are Roaches, but there is still a Siege tank in the back, let's not forget, doing long-range splash damage to the Zerg units. He has to pull some Roaches coming out fresh from the bottom hatchery here. And looks like Nerchio is going to deflect this. Doesn't get the tank, unfortunately, and it is still being very annoying for Polt.
Great micro by both players. Actually, Nerchio tried to run away there, but Polt, he's being so annoying with so little.
Taking out that creep tumor. The investors can help. They don't have pathogen glands yet, which means they don't have enough energy on hatch for those fungals. And he's scanned. Getting rid of that creep tumor means that the Queens are going to be even tougher still to deal with those medevacs.
One big difference this game, Polt's 3rd is much, much later. And look at the upgrades, Maynard. This time they're equal. Upgrades didn't get cancelled. He wasn't a whole set of upgrades behind. And now he's getting a hive as well.
Of course, game number 1, cannot forget those Evo Chamber and the Roach Warren being taken out by siege tanks. So now Nerchio his largely untouched infrastructure, apart from losing some queens and some roaches to the harassment from Polt, is starting to power into the mid game. Hive, 3/4 of the way done here.
A second factory being produced, by the way, so looks like Polt will be going hard into those tanks and mech units to really power up. So that signifies that he's going to be playing big 2-2 timings, big pushes, and he's going to try and kill Nerchio before he can really utilize Ultras. Oh, a Liberator.
Oh, wow.
Oh, but Ravager's already there and waiting.
Absolutely. So this Liberator, can't see it doing a whole lot here. The Ravagers are already starting to touch up. The Queen can do the rest. Easy peasy, but there's a big... Oh, wow, the Queen got taken out, and Polt, +1 armor and attack is ready. This very hurt Liberator is just killing drones in the main here of Nerchio.
I can't believe it survived that. He doesn't have enough units to deflect the drop after, but
He
just
can cross the Violet, he just hasn't, he's worried about this big attack from Polt here.
Oh, he does eventually clean it up, so that's nice. And this drop does manage nothing here, so Nerchio overall deflecting that pretty darn well.
It's actually
22
quite
roaches
a
on the way.
22 roaches are on the way. They are, as you would say, supply inefficient, but a very beefy unit, especially with 1-1.
Look at the fight. Nerchio surrounding him from every side here. The tanks are picked up and he does get away. A fungal!
A fungal and attack effects! Corrosive Bile's gotta do the rest!
Ah, the suicide under the Corrosive Bile and the Medevacs. That was pure carnage right there. This spawning pool doesn't mean too much, but there's so many fights going on around the map.
And the fungals of Nerchio, let's see how good they are. He hasn't actually got one just yet. Just one here, and a nice split from Polt. Dodges that fungal. The drop in the main nearly gets the spawning pool, but not quite.
Wow, so much chaos around the map. 10 drones being made, so Nerchio feeling safe in his position here, droning up the 4th massively. He is actually behind in drones here, so that is the right call. You need to make sure that you stay ahead in this game, stay even with your opponent. Spawning pool did survive, and Lings are a big deal, but the spawning pool incredibly low.
He's back again for that spawning pool, and he will get it.
No more Lings for the time being will join the field. Ultralisk Cavern is on the way. Ultralisk upgrades are on the way too.
That means that Adrenal's going to be very heavily locked there if he does want to go for Lings. He is getting +1 attack, but I dare say that's just for the Ultralisks. He's going to still have the meat and potatoes of his army being those roaches.
The roaches are incredibly supply inefficient. They're not a good unit. Yes, they survive for a long time, and yes, when they have +2 armor, they'll be in good shape, but the fact that his +2 armor is barely even done here against the 2-2 of Polt.
Yeah, Polt's actually going to take a significant upgrade advantage with his units, and he is stimming in for more drone kills, possibly a hat-trick here. Nerchio is in position, does deflect him for now, but this is where Polt gets so strong. But that said, a massive fungal here from Nerchio. Doesn't catch the medevacs, but at least deals with the units.
Oh, but so many drops by Polt. He's in the main, he's in the ball. Oh, this is a sick fungal though. Just grab a lot of those Marines and the medevacs.
Doesn't quite kill off the medevac. The Spore does it here in the main at least. And this is where Polt is so strong. Multiple attacks while pushing the middle there. A beautiful fungal from Nerchio. Another group of Marines all taken out, and Polt has to pull back.
And you know what? Polt's seen the Ultras now. Now he knows he's on a clock. Now Nerchio's army can become significantly stronger, and Polt, he's going to have to get out Thors, tanks, Marauders, Marines. They don't mean much at this moment in time. How are they going to hurt Ultras when they're on similar upgrades? The answer is they're not.
Absolutely. They almost heal Ultras. It's quite funny. We got Chitinous plating nearly finished here, and we talked about that upgrade. That means the Ultras have an extra few armor points, and it matters so much when someone is so Marine heavy.
Nerchio is mounting his army. 192 supply, +2 armor about to finish. Chitinous plating already finished too. Liberators, I don't think there's a severe number out on the field yet. They are just being produced. Yes, so this is before Liberators as well. So that huge flock of red moving across the map.
This is actually quite sick here from Nerchio. He's moving across, and he's got his sights set on this relatively naked 4th.
Oh, but that form, that is a naked drone. What? Nerchio's army!
They're a little bit early to the party here. Nerchio now coming up to put the bolt into this attack, but he does get that fungal. A beautiful fungal, actually. A lot of the units going down here for Nerchio.
So much Nerchio rushing through, but his 4th, 18, 19 drones down. A lot of drones die. Even Polt in his main. Polt is the master of counterattacks here. But Polt, his 3rd, it's also been lost. So many drones have, SCVs have died here. Liberators getting gunned down. Thors, they are going toe-to-toe with Ultralisks.
They are indeed, and it looks like one Ultralisk about to go down, but there are Ultras on the production. Freedom Zone's dealing with the roaches here, and he lifts up the Thors for a better position. Meanwhile, Polt is not finished here. He's stemmed in. He's at the hive. More drones going down.
This game, the same story as the game prior. Nerchio goes in for the kill, but Polt just goes to the counterattack, and GG.
Polt takes a 2-0 lead in the series. And each game kind of went the same way. I mean, Nerchio looked a lot stronger on Central Protocol, but Polt every time seems to smell that opening. He knows when to go in for those drops, when to go in for the counterattacks and hit 2 hatcheries at once. And it just, he takes the hatchery out, he takes the drones out, he gets everything.
It's the counterattacks killing Nerchio here. Nerchio smells blood in the water and he goes for it, but Polt almost reads him like a book and just sends out a couple of counterattacks and really deals with Nerchio's economy. That game, I really thought Nerchio sussed him when he left a good 5-6 roaches at his 4th base because he knew the drop was coming, but then they ran away to join the main brunt of his army. And then he lost his 4th base, lost his main to the triple drop. Literally the same story. Nerchio needs to figure out what's happening here because it's the same thing.
And there you go, some Polt fans out there in the crowd. He is looking really good in the series. 1 map away from that grand final in Spodek Arena. So close you can smell it, but Nerchio is not done yet.
Nerchio doesn't look outclassed. These games are close, but he needs to realize the formula that Polt's using to beat him. And it is these drops, it is these counterattacks when Nerchio gets a bit overeager. Did he need to be overeager that game? He was on 4 bases against a 3-base Terran.
Possibly chill for a few more upgrades, you think? More units?
More units, just making sure that you've got static defense ready for these counterattacks, having a few lings ready. Against counterattacks, one of the big weaknesses of counterattacks now compared to Heart of the Swarm, if you leave 1 Ultralisk behind to deal with a drop of 8 Marines, those Marines can't do anything. And while leaving Ultralisk behind, you want them in your main army. Sometimes it's a worthy cost.
Indeed, and our 3rd map will be Prion Terraces. Potentially the last map, but we hope not. We want this to go all the way to Game 5. Guys out there in the crowd, you are going to have to send your energy to this guy on the booth. Currently down 2 maps with his opponent on match point. It's got to be stressful.
It's always hard when you're 2-0 down in a best of 5. Your opponent can literally do anything to you now and get a cheeky win here and there. He can cut so many corners because his life isn't on the line, yours is.
Absolutely. I can't even imagine the mental fortitude it takes to come back, but I've seen it happen before in StarCraft. No doubt we'll see it happen again. Those huge comebacks in these long series.
If there's anything pro gamers should be good at, it's losing. We do it on a daily basis. These guys train 10 hours a day, and I've got to tell you, if you're not losing, you're doing something kind of wrong when it comes to training, because when it comes to the big tournaments like this, if you're playing against something you haven't seen before, it's going to absolutely whomp you. So the fact, like, these players should be able to bounce back from losses. They really should.
That's right. If you're playing StarCraft at home and you don't like losing, can guarantee these guys on the stage have lost way more times than you. Tens of thousands of games more.
They've also won a ton more.
And that's very true as well. You got to play to win. That huge trophy on stage. Polt so close to getting there. But without further ado, if you want to see this guy start to win some maps in this series, send your love to Nerchio! And in the top left, on match point, this is Polt.
Polt's played massively well throughout this series, and what's beautiful to see is when a player plays to his true style. We know he's great at counterattacks. Whenever you watch his stream or watch him play in tournaments, what does he do? He has 2 armies around the map microing simultaneously. The only difference in this series, he did it with 3 or 4.
Indeed, and we actually see Nerchio going Paul first here, but CC first from Polt.
CC first on a gold base map? Makes sense, but
does.
Cheeky.
It is indeed. It is a greedy, cheeky build here from Polt. So, I mean, that means that Nerchio getting that pull first, he is a little bit hurt in economy, but the base not too far behind, getting the gas as well.
Gold, or Prion Terrace in particular, it's a map with 2 gold bases to start off with for Zerg. So here we see the natural very open and the 3rd there. So Zerg, it's a race that benefits from higher work count much earlier on in the game, so they can utilize the gold base that much faster. This is notoriously a pretty darn good map for Zerg in this matchup.
It is indeed. This one possibly the strongest map for Nerchio. He can have more queens, more drones, more Zerglings, everything that Minerals gives you as a Zerg player.
So 2 barracks with a 2 gas follow. We actually did see this build from Polt against Firecake on Dusk Towers. With this, he didn't do what normal Terrans do with a gas first back in HOTS, because it's not actually known that well in Legacy of the Void. He actually utilized both the barracks as well. Here, just searching for Proxy Rex Reapers, possibly. And again, he's the guy that's 2-0 down. If his opponent did pull out a cheeky build and just own him, That would be so sad. So that's why he's had to opt for going pool first here, because he is very worried about possibilities of build. But Polt, yeah, he utilizes the 2 barracks. He still makes a lot of Marines. Then he goes into Hellion play and Medivacs.
He sees that CC, he's going to delay this bunker a little bit. Marine coming down to shoo away these Zerglings with SCV support, and they will do that.
Oh, did you see that cheeky micro with the Lings there? Just pulling away. Only a little millimeter there, but it's just out of range of the attack moving Marine, so he divided the damage.
And Polt with also very nice micro, not taking any damage there except for some hit points on the SCVs.
It's lovely when you see 2 players that can micro exceptionally well. You see the units almost dance on the field.
Indeed. See that Polt gearing up here, dropping an extra production factory on the way. And Nerchio, once again, with a pretty decently timed speed here.
Speed is early. His third's pretty darn early too.
Yeah. Both players really showing respect to each other. Like, I have a way that I want to play here in this matchup and not changing it up too much. Nerchio again with the Roach Warren.
You're totally right. When you're playing the same build, it means this is the build that you have a lot of faith in. And Nerchio obviously has a lot of faith in this build. Very, very solid players. And when you get to play a guy that's 2-0ing you in a matchup that you don't tend to lose, that's a scary thing. So maybe it worked for him on the ladder and such and in practice, but going up against Polt, he seems to have his number, it seems.
That's right, so far in the series, still in game number 3, the dream is alive for Nerchio.
Is that a 3rd barracks on the way for Polt? So Hellions? It is a 3rd barracks very early here. No starport starting anytime soon, so Stim +1, a 3rd barracks?
Well, we talked about gold bases being very beneficial for Zerg, but that also means that Polt can afford an extra production structure and start to pump things out. And he opting for that instead of a super quick 3rd CC.
If Nerchio spoke to FireKeg at all or saw that game on Dust Towers, though, Polt he's a creature of habit. He will stick to the same routine, and this is exactly what he did. And look, is he going to get combat shields? It should time up greatly with Stim and +1 finishing. So what we're going to see in this game is a big, big, big push. Whether he throws down an armory at some point just to turn these Hellions into Hellbats for a huge push.
He does.
There we go.
And Hellbats, if you guys haven't seen them before, they are an incredible splash damage unit. They can straight up engage roaches. They benefit from being healed by Medivacs because they're biological. And they can even take out structures.
Whether we'll see Medivacs in this game, they may not. I'm not even sure.
It may just be hitting that timing without any Medivac support. You're absolutely right. We haven't seen Starport just yet.
This SCV count also ridiculously low. And is he not building any more SCVs at this point either? This is a huge...
Uh-oh.
We talked about cheeky wins when you're 2-0 up or even 2-0 down. This looks exactly like what Polt is going for.
And Nerchio is pumping out units. He's got 6 roaches on the way, but the big question is, will it be enough? Polt is starting to spring this attack here. The Hellions leading the charge.
Hellions indeed leading the charge, and that's going to be 8 Hellbats. While they won't deal a lot of damage unless they get AoE attacks against these roaches, they take a lot of damage. Polt waiting for these upgrades to finish up. He's also getting his 2nd plan of action ready here with the starport, but this is where he's put a lot of his eggs.
Exactly, and he needs to make this work. Nerchio needs to deflect it. The roaches from low ground coming in. He doesn't have that many roaches on the high ground at the 3rd to deal with this attack. He's actually letting Polt into the natural now. Now the roaches are coming down. They know Polt's units are here for the attack. And he's trying to hold. Polt is very close to the Roach Warren, starting to get into that drone line.
Oh, and the Marauders, they are at the back, they are exposed. Nerchio's trying to focus them down, but there's so much Polt here. This is such a weird rush that he's doing. People don't do this, but Polt's making it look like it should be the norm of this matchup. The drone's even piling up in the small crevice there.
Polt is in an amazing spot here. Nerchio in so much trouble. The Korean Terran is so close to winning a 3-0 in this series here. The drones nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. The Bio and the Hellbats are chasing them down, turning them all into a crispy barbecue. And the reinforcements here from Polt, stopping all the reinforcements for Nerchio to help out from the 3rd. Roach Warren goes down. I feel like that is it for the Polish player Nerchio.
Nerchio is dying here, a slow, painful death to Hellbats, Marauders, and Marines. What a great timing attack by Polt. He's in the 3rd as well, taking out all these drones, these roaches. Polt still with the face of the killer, still playing so seriously.
GG, Polt 3-0 against Nerchio will be our first finalist for the Intel Extreme Masters in Katowice.
Polt, he switched it up that third game. He did exactly what he was going to do against 5K on Dust Towers in their series, and now I know why. That strategy looks amazing.
It looks incredibly strong. I'm actually going to steal it, and I'm going to practice it and do it when I get back to Australia. Polt, there he is, the winner of the first semi-finalist. Send your love to this Terran player.
Walking across the stage to shake the hand of his opponent. It was a good game, and Nerchio is a scary opponent. It just wasn't his day, it seemed.
That's right. Good manners here from Polt, heading in there, congratulating Nerchio on a well-played series, but again, it's just way too strong, and a well-deserved finals appearance for the Korean Terran.
Polt, definitely a great winner here, does move on to the grand final.
All right, let's switch over to Polt on the stage with a winner's interview.
Polt, congratulations on a 3-0 victory in the semi-finals. You're through to the first ever WCS Winter Championships. Initial thoughts?
One more left.
Talk me through the game. Obviously, a lot of pressure on you to perform here. You said that before you came in several interviews with ESL, and you've made the final. But in this particular match, having to fight not only Nerchio, but the support of the crowd as well, how do you block that out?
Yeah, I know that like he's a country's like hero and a lot of people cheering for him. But at the same time, I know there are a lot of my fans here. And I said, in the previous interview, I said, I won't let you down, and you believe me.
Absolutely right, yes. You haven't let your fans down. Talk us through the match itself. First two games seemed very similar from our point of view. It seemed that Nerchio was very happy to come at you and be very aggressive, and yet actually you were just waiting all the time, very patiently, and every single time in those first two games, the counter-attacks were perfect.
Yeah, I just figured like the main big engagement, I didn't really have a good chance to beat his army because it was really strong, but I knew that like if I harass him and like build more units like Liberators, then I had a chance. So I did that, and he just didn't think about the counterattacks, and he lost every single archery.
Okay, and what was your mentality going into the third game?
Since I was up like ahead 2-0, I just thought like let's just finish this series.
Okay, well, you certainly finished that. Ladies and gentlemen, CM Storm Polt is your first finalist.
Thank you very much, Red Eye. We're back up here on the analysis desk. And when Polt needs to perform, Polt does perform. He played incredibly well throughout that series there, Rotti. And it wasn't close.
I mean, game number 1 and game number 2 were relatively close, I think. But in the end, you look at it, it's 3-0. And then with that final game, you know, there's just a bunch of Marines and Helmets running across the map. Then you say, like, it wasn't close. But I mean, like we were talking about it off stage, obviously. You know, game number 1, something like that could happen. Nerchio gets himself in a pretty decent position, makes his way across the map, and he dies to counterattacks because Polt is relentless when it comes to a counterattack. And he didn't even have that much at home, but he was doing enough damage on the other side of the map to justify it. And then you kind of think, all right, you know, be aware of this in game number 2. You know that when you get ready to attack, there's a good chance he's going to do it again. And he did do it again. And I really feel that, like, losing Central Protocol after Nerchio played awesome for the first 10-15 minutes. I think it mentally broke him, but of course all the credit and love to Polt because I mean, how many times haven't we said this already? He keeps on doing it, and he always shows up in a big way.
I mean, we always talk about how in a lot of ways he's predictable, right? His build order was different. Obviously in game 3 we saw a very different thing out of him, but when we say predictable, what we mean is Polt has always been a multitasking monster that is going to counterattack you all the time. His army is almost never one glob coming at you. It's a drop here, a drop there, and then there's, the rest of the army here. So for Nerchio, who's played him over the years, to kind of lose that way, part of me says that's the nerves. It's Polt getting stronger as the tournament goes on and him being comfortable, and Nerchio overthinking it.
Kind of makes it a simple game when you look at it like that, in terms of if Polt's going to play this way, for Nerchio, you have to keep up. You have to be able to defend all these drops in other locations, because if you don't, I mean, we saw what happened.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at just the one game, basically, that Polt lost macro-wise versus Zerg was at the very beginning of the tournament against Lambo on Central Protocol where he said, I'm going to go and try to ramp up for a very heavy mid-game aggression and just shut you down before we reach the point where you have enough units to defend and attack. And that's always been Polt's strongest thing, is he will have medevacs everywhere. You know, it was obviously a bit more famous against Protoss with the whole Nexus sniping thing, but it's just as applicable in Legacy of the Void when a lot of Zerg players don't have that mobile Ling, Baneling, Muta composition because of the strength of Liberators.
I mean, the funny thing is, though, I do think that Nerchio was keeping up on Central Protocol. I think in the phase in the game where it's hardest to defend against all that medevac aggression, he was doing a phenomenal job. You know, Fongo here, corrosive ball there, and he was really keeping up, not taking critical damage. I mean, one small mistake with that Liberator and the Queen being in the range, but other than that, it was really good. And then he makes it into, you know, the safety zone, so to speak. He has Ultralisk now, and that's the phase in the game where you can say, all right, you can chill now. You know, if there's a drop that caught you off guard, send an Ultra, get a couple of static defenses, but you made it through the toughest phase in the game. But actually then after that point he just did not take care of it anymore at all. And he just runs across the map and all of his bases are super exposed.
Well, two things happened there that I thought was really interesting. It's like we saw that like 3 pan, again, good job Funkaby with the observing, but we saw like 3 drops get shut down pretty hard. And that's usually the gap in time where it's like, okay, I can go attack now. But Polt is so dedicated to continuing to do that Nerchio had nothing back at home. But also, in Legacy of the Void, this playstyle might be a lot stronger because of Liberators. Back at home, just a couple. It doesn't, you don't need 12 Liberators. He had like literally 3, and with the damage they do to Ultras that are so hard to take damage otherwise, they actually thinned out the attack to the point in time where it was like, oh wow, Polt wins.
That attack on Central wasn't super pretty though. Like he also sent in 1 Ultra by itself and then the other one right before the attack was ready. Then he dropped the corrosive balls, only got 1 out of the 2 lips.
And the biggest thing is you see a lot of Zerg players being very successful with Roach Ravager, especially into Ultralisks, but as a Terran player defending that, it's the perfect storm. Of course, the first Ultra being thrown in is like, well, you know, free gimme, but you have all your tanks pre-siege, there's no creep spread there, they all get to fire, they have full vision because they have the 3rd base there. He had everything he needed to defend this. Like, oh, if Nerchio plays that style, like you said, keeps some units at home, defends against the drops, and waits for Polt to move out, then he has to either unsiege the tanks or have them in his medevacs, making them vulnerable to the fungals, the corrosive biles, the extra delay before they can fire, and then you're on creep, and that's when the Ultras can really get on top of you even faster. And then, obviously, the worst thing that you can do once you make that push in, you're committed, you get caught between buildings. We saw the Ultralisks getting stuck between 2 of the barracks while the Liberators shot at it, and at that point, like that's where Ultralisks are weakest, is on the attack if you haven't already won the game.
All right, well, thank you very much, gentlemen. We are going to go to a very quick commercial break and set ourselves up for the second semi-final. It's just around the corner, and it is going to be Liquid Snoot taking on another champion of the WCS system in Hydra. And of course, a big shout out to our sponsors, thescoreesports.com, and of course, plays.tv, where you can find highlights of all games. And of course, StarCraft 2 on their website. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We'll be back in a couple of moments for the second semi-final.